just been moving it around.
No, I think that's good. Hi, Royce. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
All right, and we can see you, Royce.
Okay.
You're in the middle of a really nice setting there. By the
Yeah,
beach.
It's like one of the islands.
Yeah.
it's the point where they built a lighthouse when they filmed Pete's Dragon.
Okay.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, movie.
Dragon, the old Disney movie.
Oh, yeah.
The
Okay.
old Pete's Dragon with Ellen Getty and
Is that grass being grazed or is that just Yeah.
I don't know. Right now it's not, but it was. It used to be.
Okay.
Pete or the power PG&E owns it, and it's close to the nuclear power plant.
Okay.
We are ready.
So that's
Right.
points on the list or something.
All right. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Today is February 28th, Friday. Welcome to the Agricultural Preserve Advisory Committee meeting. It is now 1:32 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. And we have a roll call, please.
Okay, hi. So we're going to start with Stephanie Stark,
Here?
David Lackey,
Here.
Royce Larson,
Here,
Alex,
Here.
and Sergio Ricardo.
Present.
We have all members present.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone here from the public today, either in person or online, who would like to speak on an item that is not listed on the agenda?
We do not have anyone in the audience and no one online, so no public comment.
Okay, very good. So that brings us to our, pretty much our one item, continued item today, which is the discussion about the presentation to the Board of Supervisors regarding our Williamson Act overview. I can give a overview or just an update to the committee since we last met at our regular scheduled meeting in February. Okay, and we're scheduled to meet, what did we say, an hour and a half or an hour? Yeah. Okay, so what we had talked about is, I'll give you an update of kind of where we are in the process. First, I learned today that it looks like the meeting is going to be moved, or the proposal is to move the meeting to the 8th of April instead of the 1st of April. So I wanted to see if that was gonna work for folks. You can ponder that and we can get into the other parts of the meeting today, and we can round back at the end of the meeting if we need to do that. But I can make the meeting, but I don't know if it works for others. It moves it back a little bit, our docketing deadline, but I don't think that'll be a problem. And I did ask the clerk of the board if there was another date, and she did throw out this one in May that is after all the budget meetings. So that would be
Would this
another-
be in Santa Maria?
Yes, this would be in Santa Maria. So,
And you know exactly the day in May? Or just
it's
May?
Tuesday, in May, yeah. It's,
May 6th,
Yeah, I think she said May 6th.
that would be in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, that would be the Santa Barbara meeting. So we could do either one of those. Royce, were you able to make April 8th?
I think April 8th would work for me.
Okay,
I can make either one.
okay,
Either date is fine with me.
okay,
Yeah, I'm good with 6, 8.
okay, all right. You do the 8th of April, okay, so, let's use that as our working date. And, I guess if it gets pushed again, then we just deal with that when it happens, but let's plan on the 8th. Oh, I didn't even ask you, I'm sorry.
I've always had the whip of the boards.
Ah.
Tuesdays are blacked out for me. Just schedule.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you. So I presented the board letters now currently at the is that county council for review, and then after that I'll go to the board, and they'll take a look at it at the CEO's office, actually. So that's where it is right now. No real comments at this point. We got some comments from the different directors, Michael, and from Lisa, and so that's where the board letter is. The presentation was also sent to Jose, Michael, and to Lisa, and we did not get, I haven't gotten any comments yet from Michael, but I did, Michael Daly.
Daily. Okay.
Yeah.
Chief assessor.
Yes. And he did, he didn't have any quite comments yet, but I think he's probably still working on his time. But Lisa did have a comment, and I made a couple tweaks to the presentation, just a minor one, a question about it, and I changed the date, so thank you, David. I didn't know the date had changed. So we can go ahead and go through those, the notes after that, after our discussion about, the one comment that Lisa had was that she thought it would be helpful if we had something in the presentation that was discuss the fiscal impact of non-compliances for the contracts. Yeah, and she said,
I think that's hard to gauge. I mean, well, I had an interpretation of what I thought that meant.
Yeah, and I did ask her kind of what was she thinking, like some numbers we would have, like in our back pocket, or she thinks a slide. She thought a slide, since the board did ask that question. So I had some thoughts and ran them by Sergio today, I think. And what I was thinking, what we could do is we could take our last slide, if you could bring that up, Teresa. Where we talk about, we summarize the non-renewal cases. And what we could do is we could come up with an amount of like our time investment, as well as turn that into a fiscal impact. So that was kind of, is done by the planning department anyways, when you guys do your non-renewals. I was looking at those board letters. So we could come up with like how many hours it takes, it took the committee, including Teresa, as well as any county staff, to do these non-renewals. And yeah, either you're writing the letters, you're sitting on the doing discovery, or you're on the committee discussing it. We could, equate that to get a number for that, and then also add in the cost for planning to do the non-renewal. And that's already in your board letter. She states in there, whoever wrote the board letter says, like, I think I have it for each of these cases that went. And then the other part would be providing some sort of amount of the tax benefits of what each of those contracts what it will look like, because they're still under contract for 9 more years.
I was thinking of that impact, but
That's how I beat the first part, not the cost to us, but if there's bad actors out there that aren't doing, and they're continuing to get the benefit, we'd have to come up with some hypothetical, almost like using these to say, okay, well, could we come up with how much, dollar amount benefit? This is just for example, but we don't do active enforcement, so we don't really know how many people are potentially non-compliant.
So I would just look at these ones.
I think we could do, is that possible to kind of figure it out for, as an example,
I know exactly what
benefit they were
the benefit they were getting, but like I was explaining to Stephanie, is every contract is very unique, and to provide, even if it's an average, even if it's an estimated average, that would be very difficult, because one of these, just to give you an example, one of these was already a Prop 13, so he's not getting any benefit at all.
Is it pursuing?
Pursue is already getting Proposition 13 assessment. So
And can we get a rough idea for all these 6 contracts that are example?
the
What
ones,
would be-
I
The
don't,
remaining 5?
yeah,
maybe?
because I had originally, didn't I provide that information to you?
I thought you did, and I was looking on my,
I can- Yeah, I can
yeah,
take a look and see what it is that they're getting. I may have,
do you have that with you?
I think I have that here.
Yeah.
Let's see, I think I sent it to you. I can check emails.
And then on top of that, I like Stephanie's idea to actually estimate the cost. So
Our time?
staff time.
Our time, yeah, and that was, I mean, I could give you that, and I
Yeah,
can give you,
and that's
what I
something that Michael commented on
Right.
about the board letter, and I was trying to figure out, I kind of wanted to get that thing moving along, but I did say, maybe we could put that in the presentation, and then when I saw Lisa's comment. So,
let's see here.
I was looking for her exact wording of how she said that. And then, so that's only part of like what I wanted to discuss, but the other parts, we can also today accomplish, anything in the notes that we wanna cover, like what are some important points that we wanna, make sure get brought up during the presentation. Here.
Did you want to check your email here?
No, that's okay.
Okay, I found it. Do you want me to,
You can,
do you want me to email this to?
yeah, Teresa,
Teresa?
that'd be great.
If you want me to upload it to the box or what you want me to do with that?
I would just pull it up. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Yeah, what she said was, a slide that addresses the financial impact to the county when we have out of compliance properties. That's what she was saying. So it was like, gosh, how are we gonna do that for all of them? But, you know, if we at least give it for these properties, it gives them a sense of, at
You
least
said
there's a beginning and an end to it. I don't know how we would do it otherwise, but I'm open to any discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, these are examples, but yeah, like we said, we don't know how many are out there, and then each
We
of
don't
those
know,
are
and
so
so-
variables.
So one of the things I mentioned to Stephanie is the only ones that we're going after, non-compliance people that we actually initiate the research and bring them to APAC
Are the owner ones.
are the owner splits. Yeah, the ones that don't file their replacement contracts, or the ones that have a change in ownership, which splits the contract. Those are the ones we are catching at the assessor's office. And so I was estimating, okay, so when we get the change in ownership that we have to reassess, we do the research. We see that it's one of multi-parcel contract, and then we start going back to the original contract or the map, the original map, and then go from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You do those for all change of ownerships and.
Mhm.
How
Well,
many
not
of those,
all.
well, I mean, are the ones that just.
The ones that we
You know
are,
that it's a different owner.
exactly, where you have now a split ownership. And then I have to, so I send the initial letter I send an initial email to Stephanie, so that when she's ready to put them on the agenda, because Stephanie has to send out the letters and all that stuff. Then you guys see them on the agenda. But by then, Stephanie has already spent the time to do
Yeah.
letters have already spent time to do.
Right. I mean, I think it's fair to just say that even from the start to that to us getting them on agenda and taking action and then getting it to the board, I mean, that may be a good 1 year additional benefit, sometimes even 2 years of additional benefit from the time that it became aware. Right? So that's-
Because we may be waiting, I mean, wasn't there,
That's
like
a good
Chevron.
point.
like Chevron and,
We have, and then some, yeah, you're right, because you have to factor in those cases that you are also have, we had some issues with like coordinating them and getting them all on the same, like, so that we're trying to look at them together.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And we were, and so what we've got before us here are the, figures that you did provide.
Right, so I can explain, so the non-renewal, for example, the ones that have a positive number, these are the ones that are getting a huge increase on their taxes. But this guy, Pursuant, he's at a negative, so this defaults to Proposition 13, so he's not gonna get,
Okay.
like an
But
additional.
you got some of these 375,000.
Yeah, I have that.
Is a benefit, right?
This one also didn't get,
I'm surprised
I
are
know.
they the original one? Because
the Aguila G Boys?
were they the original, they weren't the original owner
No,
of
they
all
weren't.
of those parcels, so how they would lose their prop, the new owner wouldn't have a Prop 13 benefit, right?
I think what happened,
I think Pursuant's on that same lot for many years.
yeah, Pursuant
Yeah,
has a
Pursuant
very
makes
low
sense.
base. These guys, they, I think they initiated a lot split, the Aguila G Boys. I think that was the lot split.
It was
In
some-
Ukiah.
Yeah.
And I think they just, their Proposition 13 was just,
So after a lot split, it gets reassessed?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, because we had to adjust the assessment.
Even though if they're
If
the
it's the same
same owners?
owner, but it would, they would lose their Prop 13 value from a
No.
lot line adjustment.
Same owners.
For one split.
Same owner, we may adjust the Prop 13 base if they're losing a portion of their land. And so they lose that and it gets added to whoever's gaining.
Oh, right.
But yeah, so with these, we have two that are never gonna see a difference. They don't care.
And they are not negative, actually they would be zero.
Yeah, this actually turns into
So the
default
sum,
to Proposition
the sum
13.
would be even higher, what I'm saying, for these other projects,
Right,
for the total.
right.
So that could be added to the project, 6 projects that we have on the board, right? If those are the same, maybe they are not the same.
Well, see, these guys were one contract. And we had to separate them based on the different ownership. But it was one contract.
I remember the Lost Boys. Oh, that was one of those, it's a different name now. It was like, one of those foster capital.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
Yeah, one of those cannabis, I think it was.
Yeah, those are the ones that they kept the skate, right?
Mhm. So, yeah, yeah, I know it's kind of confusing. Maybe we can probably make a note on the side.
And then from that, the value to
So then,
is 1% of the 375.
Yeah,
correct.
Right.
1%, okay.
right.
Yeah, because it's the same tax rate.
Right.
It's based on
Okay,
the
so-
TRA.
Well, we're just talking about using the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6.
It was just the 6 that we
6 in
had
rotation,
from, it was 0, 3, 8,
They're
12,
the same, or?
Littner 14.
Mhm.
Okay, that's right, and 04, 014A, yeah, Pursuant, 008, 009,
Nine.
yeah. Oh,
And
and then the 069, I didn't quite
Are all of
understand,
those.
is it
That's-
all of those?
Right.
It's all of those.
Okay.
That was a big contract
Ah,
that was just split into
I
multi.
see.
Parcels.
Okay, so we have our number, so we could just say, it would be the, whatever the percentage, 1 point, forgot the numbers, 1 point something percent, right?
Depending on the TRA.
Okay, so we could get that number, so that's one total. And then we'd add in, Sergio and I were just sort of, kind of, you know, kind of napkin, writing on the back of a napkin, we're thinking about, well, how long does it take? And I was thinking, well, you know, we're thinking typically 4 meeting, well, I know I write 2 letters at least, so on average, you know, say an hour each letter, and then maybe discussing it at, maybe probably we're saying up to 4 meetings, half an hour discussion for each contract, and it could be more.
Could be
But
more,
these are
could
the,
be
these are
less.
the numbers I
sometimes-
need some help with on how, what numbers we want to use, what estimates. And then I need a conversion from your hours to whatever your hourly rate is, or however you want to charge, because I need a number for that.
For these 6, right? Total.
Yeah,
Total
yeah,
number.
right,
Okay, I
Yeah.
can do that.
but it's not 6, it's really 9.
But even, yeah, I mean, I guess collectively, the, you know, the
69.
Woodward, Gila G boys, we kind of, I would say, it would be one project. I mean, our hours, we generally talked about them
Yeah,
together. So-
yes,
And
Yeah.
just so you
And it
know,
would-
Except for the noticing, you'd have individual notices.
yeah, I'm imagining lumping, and I don't wanna,
Yeah.
it's not, so then you're not talking about, we're not talking about individual contracts, we're just saying, this is how much, I'm picturing a slide with, this is how much our department, total, or our staff time was, this is what the, tax dollar difference or tax benefit would be, but we gotta figure that out a little bit more, that detail, but I'm just thinking in broad strokes, this would be very general.
I guess we probably could do a quick look at general, you know, because even, I mean, obviously Klentner was a big one that took a long time. Even the G boys, that took a while. Maybe we could always go back and look at our,
how many
kind of when they started and then,
meetings it took.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say by the time either it came known to you and then getting it onto agenda, or Klentner started as an application that we then. But I think, you know, it's probably fair that, I mean, I think 2 years, because depending upon, you know, probably that whole effort would take a year, but then depending upon, you know, then to take it to the board, and then when it happened in the year, I think there's probably at least a minimum they're getting a 2-year benefit.
And that number, I think, was in the board letter here, when these all went, right?
Well, most of those went in October of 2024.
All of them.
Yeah,
These are the 6 that were.
yeah, so if we, let's see, so if we were looking at the 75961, okay. So we're just doing, what's the percentage, did you say?
We usually just use the 1.01,
Okay,
just to, but it all depends on the area. It's the TRA.
oh, but could we just do a general number and make that assumption?
I
And say
mean-
we're using this percent,
1.01 is
Okay.
usually what we.
all right? I think we're looking for generalities here,
Yeah, we don't want to go into details.
no, I agree. Okay.
So as far as the staff time, do you need it now?
Not right now, but I think pretty soon, so I can just get that slide, you know,
Okay.
drilled down. So I need to know how much time, you spend on these typically, because we're using this, but in general, I'd
Right.
say, I think we go with the
Yeah.
generalities.
Yeah, so just for example, the Gila G boys notice to appear, that was in April of 23. And then it didn't get, the board didn't non-renew the contract until, you know, a year and a half later.
So they were enjoying the benefit, although, actually, yeah, they were,
Uh-huh,
Even prior to that,
Yeah.
because
oh, yeah,
so
By the
that's a
time-
cost, yeah,
that's part of that.
revenue that we could have.
yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
And this is kind of, we found this because of a project that they wrote before before the committee, so it's a kind of incidental in a way.
Right, I mean, some of those, I mean, I guess that's more immediate. You learn about the property owner transfer pretty immediately once they record it. So versus a Clintoner where he could have been in that situation of non-conforming for a couple of years before he decided to come in for an application. You know, so there still could have been many years where he was still in
Clintoner was
non-compliance.
different. He
Yeah.
he wasn't a split.
Yeah, and
He
I
actually-
don't know how we can capture
We don't know.
that.
That's why I think, these are sort of like the minimums. I think
Yes.
that the property
Yes.
owner transfers are probably the minimums. The other ones where we find about it, is generally through the application, and they may have been in non-compliance for many years.
Do we
prior
say
to
that? What's our, how do we characterize the state?
And one way perhaps might be to correlate, to figure out of the entire number of applications that come to planning for the land that's under the contract, how many of those we find being in non-compliance and we recommend the renewal. And then you could extrapolate that ratio into like, okay, how many thousands of contracts you have? If applied this number, this is kind of, extrapolating roughly.
Exactly.
It could be a way to figure it out. I don't know, is this even close
Yeah,
as far as the reality, but could be as indication, how many of all these planning cases that involve the contracted land end up being, non-renewed. Do you
Okay.
think it's too rough, David?
I think we just need to, at least we can give them example of this
Okay.
scenario, because I think it could be wildly different. I mean, that's just that's making it some type of percentage of the applications, and that's a different.
And we're just here to give an overview.
Exactly, I
We're
was
just
gonna
giving
just
an
remind you
overview.
guys
If they
that,
want, this is our best stab at that. It's
But they're gonna look
that
for a
got us
bottom
here in the
line.
first place.
They're gonna
right?
look for a bottom line, how
They-
much money the county loses.
They are, and we can always come back, because I would want that number to be vetted through, not just us, so.
Right.
I mean, I think, I like the idea of locking it down to a scope, and at least it's numbers that, this is the hook, this is what got us here in the first place. This is our estimate for here, and if they want more generalities, we come back.
Perfect. Yeah, involving more, the departments that
Yeah.
are working on these projects.
I asked, Michael if he had any comments that
He just wrote back,
okay,
Yeah.
good, he said as much, he says
Yeah.
that, he likes the way it is, less is more, likes to just give enough information without overwhelming the board with too many details.
yeah, he says, I think having an example like that may be helpful, I'm unsure whether it needs to go to presentation, less is more, might be good just to have it back.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of create a slide and they can chew on it and decide
That's
whether
my
or not,
thought too.
whether or not to put it in or just have it
Yeah.
back.
I agree. Okay, very good. So I think, before we leave this topic, trying to break this down so from everybody, and Royce, was there anything on your end that you wanted to say or had any thoughts on this?
No, that's way above my knowledge on how those are
Okay.
valued, so.
Okay. So would we include Royce's rate as well, as he's not a county employee, but it is his time as an agency? Any thought on that?
I mean, the board does provide, or do they still provide some funding to cooperative extension?
Everybody gets
We do.
stipend? I
We
don't know.
do provide some.
But it may not be
Yeah, it's
for
not just
this
a Royce.
person. No, yeah,
I
it's
don't-
broader, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a sum of money. I would say provide that, Royce. Provide us I mean, we kind of already know. I mean, I was gonna use the ballpark if you guys want to go with that, of something that Sergio and I were saying. We're saying typically for these, it's 4 meetings, half an hour at each, that's 2 hours solid. That'd be minimum of how much time we spent in meeting time. plus whatever analysis, so each of us, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, all of us, including, support, so Teresa and then Tyler, so.
I think that's a good way to do it, so.
Yeah, is that acceptable?
Yep.
Okay, so in 2 hours, so you don't need to give me anything, all I need is, I just wasn't sure what the rate is, I need to convert that to somehow, so if you guys have an hourly rate,
Yeah, they do.
okay.
Stuff.
Do you have an, yeah, I'd say fully loaded. If you have that, Royce, like an hourly rate that your department charges, fully loaded with Betty's and all that other stuff?
Boy, it'd just be like my time, so.
Yeah,
um,
provide me what you can
Okay,
for each of you. And then I'll add that up. Does that sound fair?
For a non-renewal
Yeah,
project.
for the non-renewal. I'm including, and for my time, I'm including letter time. You're including discovery time. I've already got the P and D amount for
The
their
average for
non-renewals. Yeah, taking it.
So I
to
can
board.
give you, it's 2 hours on average for legal description writing times 200.
Oh, the legal description, yeah.
Yeah, so that's $400.
So that's
That's
2
part
hours
of, that's
additional.
part of the P and D, yes, you would have to add to the P and D.
So your total then now is
He does.
4 hours.
He supports some of the information for the
Oh,
non-renewal.
can you, so break that out? Okay,
Yes, we prepare a legal description for county initiated non-renewal.
okay,
We review for the, we recover the fee for other types of projects, but for the county initiated, we have 0.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
2 hours.
you only have-
The other types of projects, legal description costs $400. So, and they are very similar.
so would I
we can-
include the $400? you think, for
Yes,
non-renewal?
yes.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah, so it'd be,
Yes.
P and D, staff cost, hours to.
$397
we already have that,
to
and
be
then add
precise.
to it.
297 for
so
our
how do
staff.
we provide that? Is there a way to provide that to me?
What's
The data from everybody, how can we do that efficiently and not
It can do
display
it.
something?
Teresa.
Send it to
I said,
Teresa?
everyone send it to Teresa, then Teresa can send you one email just with the
Okay.
compilation of, here's the data we've received, because that's not meeting game.
Okay, does that make sense? So you would send me your hourly rate for the meeting time, and then you just told me for the $400 for the legal description that would get tacked onto the.
And then my time for the committee, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another
And then
one.
for
My
you,
hourly rate?
yeah, you're just hourly rate,
This is just hourly.
and then Roy's, just your hourly rate would be great.
okay,
Thank you.
just email
All
it.
right. And then do we?
Email to Teresa.
Yeah, to Teresa, I'm sorry, to Teresa. And then do we want to say, tack on 2 more, I'm trying to get my head around the can you send me an estimate, or send Teresa an estimate for that? For the,
You mean the TRA?
not the TRA, but we're just gonna do a 1.01% of that total. But then, of the spreadsheet you had up there a minute ago, that'll be, do we use that amount, for 2 years before, because it takes roughly 2 years to get through the non-renewal process. So is that what we're talking about? Did I make?
See, no, I know, I'm just trying to think of, I mean, is it fair, I mean, that might be skewing it a little on the high side.
It happens once, right?
At least once, yeah.
I would say,
Once we discover and then we go into a process, we spend this much time, right? That's what you want to have per non-renewal project.
Well, I'm talking about the tax benefit.
Oh, the tax.
Yeah, so when these folks, we first find that there's a problem, there's a lag time
Yeah.
between when they get non-renewed.
We can say from the time, if we agreed, it can take 1 year or
I'd
2
say a year
years.
would be.
From that time. we
Certainly
can say
year
this-
minimum, but.
This is how
certainly it could
much,
be up
this is how
to
much,
2 years.
they carry the benefit. It could be that it happened years ago, not violation, but non-compliance.
Right, I mean, because if
But
we
we
find
don't know.
about out about it in September, and then we don't resolve it. We have a series of meetings for 6 months, and then it's April or March, and then it doesn't go to the board until November. And, so they've already been receiving that benefit from those 2 calendar years.
Okay, so how about we say 1 year? Do we want to add that in as like a 275,961 times 0.1.
Yeah, we don't want to highlight the P and D
No, I would,
ones that took 4
yeah, I would
years
just
to get
say 1 year.
there. I think that's fair.
Okay.
Some take
1 year
more.
lag time.
Well, I'm using these, right?
Yeah, so then it'd just be the.
So let's say they-
37,000.
What's the numbers? Anybody have the?
So,
how
okay,
much would it
so
be?
for,
375,961.
so if we didn't catch, let's say we caught these non-renewals in 2025, they're gonna go in effect in 2026. They would still be getting this benefit
In 2025.
in 2025.
Okay.
About this, yeah, so they would be getting this
Okay.
benefit in 2025.
Yes,
And then in 2026, they go to this, and they're getting, now it's going from $434,000 savings to 100,000 savings.
yes.
So you want to know,
I want to know that same model or that formula for each of those. Yeah, that's why we're locking this down to this scope, because we can't do it for every contract. And we
Right.
don't know who's in compliance and who's not, but for these, we know these were in non-compliance, so we need to know, we're gonna say this 1 year, let's say for these guys, 2024, we'll give them that whole year, they got that full tax benefit. Second, when they went into non-renewal, the first year of non-renewal, they get that full tax benefit still, right? It's that other 9 years, right? That it goes
Well,
slowly, or goes
yeah,
slowly.
the next 8 years.
Yeah,
will
8 years.
go,
Can you calculate that out? Is there a way to do that?
no, because every year is different. We get a different rate from the state every single year, so it changes. It's based on the rate that's provided by the state.
But I don't know if that's as much of a issue, because I think the main issue is what was the preferential benefit that they were getting while they were non-compliant.
So they were getting $4,300 savings. Now, because it's a non-renewal, they're only getting $1,000 benefit.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, okay.
And that that benefit will
Okay.
continue to go away, or most of those except for the
Okay.
percent.
Right, until it catches
To whatever they're.
to whatever
So you're-
decision.
So maybe, I think what I'm hearing is some committee members feel like just include the amount that was, that they were getting during that time of trying
Which
to
is-
figure out their non-compliance and
Yep.
getting them in non-compliance.
Which is
Not
that,
the other part when you put them in non-renewal.
right, so column E is exactly that. Column E is the benefit they were getting. This guy was not getting any benefit. He's already getting taxed here,
Yes,
pursuant. But column E is the benefit they're getting if they were still active.
yes, okay.
And then, but then when we get to the non-renewal, column G, then gives us a different difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think you still want the difference, because that's the delta. If we had caught these, or we were more active and non-renewing, they're not gonna continue to get the H. I mean, essentially, they're
Right.
getting that H each year.
Right.
We're
This
inactive.
is going to continue to shrink as the years go by. H will shrink. Maybe next year it'll be 80,000.
H, I'm sorry,
Clinton.
dumb question, but is H is that 1%?
No. H is the difference between the non-renewal value G
And the benefit.
and the
Prop 13,
Prop 13.
okay.
Right.
What is E again?
E is the difference between C and D. So C is your Proposition 13.
Uh-huh.
D is your non-renewal, not not the non-renewal, the economic value. This is the, I guess, yeah, so this is the economic value.
That's what they would be paying in taxes if they weren't under contract.
Exactly, this is
That's the value that we pay taxes on.
Okay. I think you're right. I think we should just do maybe that very bottom number there, because it totals them all up. And it factors in the ones that weren't getting the benefit, the Pursuans and the.
Which one, 375 or?
Yeah, the 375, maybe we just do the 1% of that, and then that'll be the 1 year that they were in flux, because we were, it's the lag time.
And I would
It's
put
the-
0 on these minuses, right? So they don't decrease this
Oh.
total sum.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see what
change
you're
them to
saying.
zero.
Oh,
Zero
that
and
would
zero.
make sense.
Yeah.
That's a good
So it
idea.
doesn't
So that's
confuse.
another
Yes,
450,000.
yes.
So
That's a
then
good
you
point.
would add an I to be the one.
So remember, this total is just for 69 for these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
But I can do the math for all of them.
Let's do that. Let's have you do the math, and I like, what Alex said, that don't make
Change
that
them to
negative.
zero.
Yeah, change them to 0, because
Gotcha.
they're like entities unto themselves. You don't want them to. That makes sense. And then
What
we'll
did
just
we
have
do?
that one number. That'll be it,
Um,
and that'll be our,
But then on I, were you planning to add sort of the 1%, 1.01% of that?
Mhm.
That would be the tax revenue loss from the county.
Yeah,
each
for the
year,
first-
just for that example.
yes, for that, just for that year. 1 year we're talking about. And then we're not gonna go into all the other,
Right.
8 years of, I was thinking that we were gonna do that, but if we can't even calculate that.
So what percent like that?
1.01.
Oh,
Because we're, must be the actual.
Yeah,
here.
okay.
And you are only down for those 4 projects, right?
0.01.
not the one in front.
So go to H13, when you're done here, yeah. So do that.
It was right the other way then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 1.01. Jeez, here. Yeah. So now, go to H13. 409, and so add to that total, everything from 3 to 7.
Oh, but you gotta, you
You have
don't
to
want those
zero, you have to
negatives.
zero out.
Minus that one?
Oh, yeah, you have
Make
to
that zero.
put that as
Where's
0,
that
yeah.
For
change that.
406, yeah.
Change that to 0.
Yeah, oh, I see what you're doing. Good, we're just doing it right now. Great.
Okay, and then.
So
right
now,
there.
yeah, that plus everything
I hate using it in SharePoint.
plus
Those will
3
go there.
to.
Yep.
Okay,
There you go.
Yes.
That's 8057. Okay, so that's our number.
That seems a lot smaller.
It
It's
does.
in 1 year
but
for,
that's the actual tax.
actually, it's $1,000 on average per property per year
Yeah.
that
that's
we are
right.
losing. But, you know, it could be 20 years, could be 10 years, could be 2,000 properties. You know, you never know.
So I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure when we present this to the board, when going back to that additional 9 years, we're not thinking that that's something that the board's going to see as a cost of non-compliance. They're still getting the tax break.
Yeah.
Because they have to go into non-renewal. It's not like you cut them off and they're canceled, I think that's. gonna
So
be-
this is at the end of 9 years, the amount, right?
That's at year 1.
That's at year 1.
That's in the first year of
Yeah.
non-renewal. So the county's tax is gonna
Also, it
increase up.
increases
Right.
as we go. So this is just, so I know it's hard. You said it's hard to estimate down the line, but for one project or something that's already been in non-renewal for 9 years, can we say, okay, this is how much the county got in additional taxes within these 9 years for one project? I don't know.
How many taxes the county
Yeah,
can get, yeah.
it's probably good
Yeah.
just to say this is the first year and it's gonna go up. right? That it is gonna go up.
Yeah, it's.
Well,
gonna go
but
up. The
is
proposition-
that, you're just, just so that we're clear on the, what we're doing, so that, we're not giving the board all the taxes that they're still getting a tax break for the
Right.
this
Yeah,
year.
they're
But We
getting-
just took the first year because.
Yeah, right.
I think it's just, it's just saying, okay, clearly in 2024, all these properties were in non-compliance, so they should have been given the benefit, and the county lost $8,000, basically, from that, each year, for that year, in tax revenue.
But they could have lost, more. Because this is,
It's gonna increase at 5 years, it's gonna be half,
It's almost-
right?
yeah, it's
So it's
almost,
kind of, and then you sum all those together, it's much more significant, right? But you don't know because other factors might influence, as you said, so
Right.
it's hard to check, but,
but eventually, and so Proposition 13 goes up each year by 2%, right? So that's Prop 13. So the tax is going up, the Prop 13. Eventually, the non-renewal is gonna catch up to Proposition 13, and we're gonna be collecting taxes based on what Prop 13 would be at that, when the non-renewal is done, is complete.
And what is I know I've read it and you've talked about it, but it's a precipitous.
Yeah, it's here, the first year, it's a very
Steep.
steep
steep increase.
increase.
Oh, okay.
And then it
It's
just-
smooth.
Yeah, because the first year, and every year, we're looking at the, we're looking at the difference. We're looking at the difference between the two values. So the difference is bigger. So we're looking at the difference and we take half of that. And then the next year we do the same thing. So now the difference is half of, so it's like
50%.
first year is 100% difference. Look at that. And then the next year is 50%. And then the next year is 25%. And then the following is,
Okay, so
half
it is
of-
sort of a,
so yeah, that's how it
So
goes.
phasing it,
Okay.
okay, so the highest impact is the first year, I thought it's the last year
Right.
when you don't have.
No, the last year is almost already at it's very, very small difference. The last year,
Unless they appeal it, right?
unless they appeal it, right?
And that delays it like for 2 years or something, 4 years.
Yeah, but you're talking, at the last year, and I don't want this to be like, endless discussion.
yeah,
But
I know.
the benefit is fading away. So isn't that the case that in the last year, there's no benefit at all?
Yeah.
So then that, in my opinion, that's the highest number of tax benefit that the owner is losing.
Yeah.
And then the first
I
year.
thought you meant the
Oh.
highest tax that the county is losing. But but if you're saying
We are getting
the
more.
owner is losing
Yeah.
everything at that point.
But
on the last
and then
We would get
our
more
tax is
property tax.
increasing.
Yeah, we would get.
Our revenue is increasing.
Yeah, the county's is
Okay.
increasing, the property owners
Yeah.
is decreasing.
But I think that is a different financial question that,
Yeah.
it's almost getting into.
It's almost like, you want to say these numbers and you say in this year, 1994, this is how much it was, and it's gonna change.
Because I think that what they would do is say, okay, if the board wanted a policy that we want to have active enforcement, and we think we can probably identify, certain amount of non-compliance, and by putting them into non-renewal over a regular ongoing 10-year time period, we can anticipate, you kind of do a pro forma of how much tax revenue by them getting up to whatever their unrestricted value that the county would be getting, and that would be a different exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy
To
with
answer
the-
your question, this is sort of just the 1 year.
But just to be clear, Stephanie, and I promise this is just my last question on this, because like Alex is saying, I don't want to drag this out to forever and ever. So do you want me, because I want to do the same thing that Teresa did here with these numbers, because these numbers are this is the benefit that they would be getting if it was still active, if the contracts were still active. So they're getting, $16,000 benefit. The county's not getting that 16,000. Well, it's different. Well, if we put these at zero, if we take,
Even more.
right.
So
put-
that's what I'm saying, in the last year, that's gonna be the county.
You're saying 1.01 times the one.
Correct.
What is that number?
So this
Let's see what that is.
number is going,
Thank you, Teresa.
this number represents
What's that time?
time, yeah, so it's this E12, 13
Yeah.
times the 1.01%.
And that's. It's structured. 17.
Oh.
So this is the,
The end,
They're active.
this is
Or-
this is what the county is losing if the contracts were
So
active.
maybe that's the
That's
question.
the real question.
That's-
That's the real number. we
So
need.
this is the real number. Now, because they're in non-renewal, now the county's only losing this.
It starts from there and then.
Definitely wanted
and
that
then it's
17.
increasing.
Yeah,
That's
because
what I.
that's the one
Okay,
for,
glad you pointed that out.
for the non-compliers, that's the effective ongoing benefit that they're getting.
Yeah.
Oh, but
but
Teresa,
we
you
didn't add
didn't
that.
even add these.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why that number is so low.
I got
That's like 8,000. Okay,
It's grown, yeah, okay.
Oh, I could just strike too.
that's
It's a
31.
Yeah.
So this is, so again, the 31,000 is what the county would be losing, would not be collecting taxes on if the contracts were still active.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that they're
That's
not
it.
in
That's the
non-renewal,
number we want.
their
Yep,
county's
got
not,
Got it, thank
Good,
you.
thank
Okay,
you.
let's go with the 31. Can you please,
Okay.
controls S that?
Oh, yeah, it's already said, but just to make sure, let's just do it.
Okay, so interesting. All right,
So
so
should I close this one already?
I think we're done talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I think we have. a
And that's
good
effectively out of 6 contracts,
Yeah, all the random,
random 6 contracts, yeah, so it can't be
Yeah.
significant
Yeah.
of what's out there.
Yeah, and that's two that weren't even, you can even say that 2 of these contracts were not receiving any benefit. In a little abstract. Okay, good, so I think we have our, kind of our slide. Let's move on to, let's see.
Go back to
what-
slide 2.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking to see, get some talking points down, and that's why I printed out the notes page on, there's some already there that haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb, but I know there's some things we definitely want to include in, as we think through what do we want, what are some high points we want to make sure that are not in the slide, but we want to make sure we talk about.
So one of the things I didn't, Lisa asked me, that's why I put my comment, but she was gathering up comments in the notes.
Yeah.
But one of the things that caught my eye that I didn't comment on, so slide 3, the last bullet, we say acres of ag zone land under contract is stable.
Uh-huh,
And for that, for the 2024, we're showing the 505,000, but you had some numbers in here. So on the next page, in your notes, is this the one? Yeah, the ones that are non-renewal total is another 12,000. So that's gonna, at some point in time, even showing that, we're under 500,000.
oh, and we changed this, I just want to make sure I changed it correctly, remember?
Yeah,
You
it was
and I talked
510
about
and
that.
then we changed it to 505.
Yeah, 'cause
I
it
think
was-
your number's right.
Yeah,
But on the next page, so go to the,
So the,
your notes
now-
on the next page.
so that's 505.
That was 505.
That's
Did
correct.
change that. Oh, wait, go back
Go
into
back.
that map there.
No, the 1281, is that what?
No,
We're talking about
under-
the-
On the notes.
turn that on the notes.
Oh, yeah, the notes could be wrong.
We know.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
That
Okay.
was confusing me. I was thinking, is that further reducing the 505 because there's some
And you're talking about-
pending land that's gonna come out of non.
Yeah, 12,000 acres will
Right.
come out,
So
but
if you- if
I'm
we-
not sure if that
If we were
12,000.
static and didn't get any new contract and let those non-renewals go out of contract, we would be down another 12,000 is what you're saying.
If.
From
if
It's
five
not,
to
it's
five.
not stable is what you're pointing.
Right. I mean, well, it's less stable than we're.
Yeah,
Let me
and,
check.
But that's part of the wave.
yeah, go back to that
Did
wave
you
real quick.
Did you get those 12,000 acres from a spreadsheet that I sent
I
you?
probably did, and that may not be accurate, that 12,000.
Right.
That may, but it does seem that I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, that may be old. But we did talk about this wave, and Sergio and I had to change it because it was looking very dramatic. And it does show like this drop off, but it does show a
2013,
basic,
14.
it does show a trend,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was fine with,
Do you want us to strike that last one, acres of we could just say something like below is the acreages. You know, they hover between 5 and,
yeah, I mean,
above 500,000, around.
I
500,000.
guess the numbers counting up the acreage and non-renewal that would further reduce it is part of that wave. I mean, there's always gonna be land that's gonna go out of contract over time, and then we have new contracts each year added, so I think that's built into this graph
Yes,
here.
yes,
So I wouldn't, hopefully we don't have to bring up these numbers and
No,
I would
no,
just
no.
keep the,
Yeah.
yeah, I would just say, maybe a city contract is relatively stable.
yeah,
I
okay.
mean, we could just show from 2015, the
I like
last- the
this,
last
I mean,
I do
it's
too.
fair, and
Alright.
then, like we said, if the back pocket is a question, well, why did it drop off from, around 550 down? And I think like the Bixby Ranch non-renewals.
Oh, right.
That was
Yeah,
probably
some
about
big things.
20,000 acres there.
Because this is, I think the board will look
Yeah.
at these and ask, why is there a drop? So,
Maybe have some
What-
example like Big.
I think they're a big contributor.
when was
Michael
Bixby,
Jackson
when
Ranch.
was the Bixby one again?
I mean, it was over time, when they came out, but I mean, I think,
Yeah, they
we
were-
started doing, I'm just trying to think of, they were in non-renewal while we were doing Gaviota Coast Plan. And that, started in 2009 and got adopted in 2015-ish. So I think, those got, not all of them, I mean, they're all out now, contract, but
So,
I think they probably, some of those contract non-renewals probably started in the mid-2000s. And so I think that
what,
they're certainly a major contributor to that downslope.
so should I just have a note in there saying that the Bixby Ranch non-renewal
Yeah, I
started
mean-
around?
Just to give an example.
Yeah.
Just to give a
Yeah.
real life.
And that
example.
was probably roughly 20,000 acres worth.
And it started in, when did you say, the 2000s?
I would say, yeah, the mid-2000s.
Okay, and that was about 20K.
Is there any other big,
Yeah,
Was the Michael Jackson Ranch.
Like 900 acres.
yeah,
It was funny, I was looking at that yesterday on aerial photo. A lot more structures out there than I remember.
yeah, I saw the contract, and minutes. It's funny.
Well, we were trying to do something, it's like, we didn't want to non-renew a whole 900 acres of land. It's like, what can we do? But it's only one parcel. So we could, have some arbitrary cut out the cancer.
Pretty inventive way to look at agriculture.
And we could put in here relatively stable.
Yeah.
And just introduce that word.
I think that, yeah.
Okay, great. So then I'll mention in here, anything else on this slide? Long-term conservation.
Did you guys talk about, I mean, it's more, I don't know if it's anecdotal, it certainly would be in back pocket or anecdotal response to something, but Assessor probably sees this more than anybody. I think we see it too, that sometimes land has gone into non-renewal and then a couple years later they get a tax bill and it's like,
Oh,
okay,
that's
I want to
good.
get back in.
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay.
that's not uncommon, right?
no, this happened with,
That might be something good to put
what was her name? I forget the name of that one.
South Coast.
Brett Jones was representing her.
Oh, yeah, that horsey lady.
Horsey lady and saying yes, and
Right.
then she saw the big huge increase.
Right.
I forget her name.
Return non-renewal, so we
Yeah.
can put that in here. Sometimes they come back in contract.
They
Okay.
recognize
Maybe
that.
don't say the horsey lady.
Yeah, I remember, the Cuyama Valley Solar, I don't know how much is that, but it was,
But that was canceled.
That was a cancellation.
right, but we lost the,
Those acreages.
we lost the acreage, right?
Oh, yeah.
360.
Okay.
But we got the,
Government law?
Yeah.
but we got a portion of that
Could you go back up to the
12.5% cancellation.
Right.
And
The acreage is out, right, so that could explain.
Oh,
648.
that was earlier,
Anything on, you know what, I'm thinking,
2000, early 2000.
No, mid 2000.
Mid, okay.
I'd say.
I can, anything on this, because I was thinking I could pull up the board letter, which has a lot of background in it.
I think it's just some of the,
Anything on here,
never mind.
some of this stuff I'll pull from the board letter, and I can.
Yeah,
share
I would do
with
that,
you.
because I added some things to the board letter that was more
Yeah.
specific and about the constitutional
Yes,
amendment, those
Yes.
type of things that are good to
yes, I think so.
verbalize.
Yes, I'll add in some of those. Okay, very good. Okay, and that's under district works and active fix. Anything else under that number 3 slide there?
On the number
sorry.
3,
Yeah,
I don't know, how many acres in the county are private versus, say, Forest Service or Air Force or, other public lands?
So that was sort of the
We should have
the
that.
758,000, so in the notes there, it says the 758,240. That's
Yeah.
that's the privately held ag zone land in the
Yeah.
unincorporated areas excluding federal, state, and state land.
that's where
So,
that number comes from.
so
so it's
500,000, 3/4 of private is in contracts then.
Yeah, 67%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we should have in the back pocket the size of the county, square miles, size.
What
of
is
the
this,
forest
okay.
area. I don't know out of,
Including-
but my director
I
asked
got
me in the public.
Okay.
Like
Is that
Alex,
with the
Alex
islands or
would
without
know
the
that,
islands?
without islands.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, I can have that.
I
I like
guess-
that the program's voluntary, counties, relatively stable, and I could explain that, yeah, these figures here are, I could say approximately 67% of the privately owned land in the county is.
Ag zone land.
Yeah, ag zone land is, yeah.
So just on the first bullet, where it says county adopted programs, that's the right word to use, adopted, you know, adopt.
The county,
Well, that's in the board letter, I can look at that, what did we say?
Used or-
Well, that's the year we jumped into the,
I know,
we were one of the first.
Sorry, participating or-
Let me
We were early adopters, is that what you guys
Yeah.
are saying these days?
Yeah.
Yes, I can look, let me pull up the board letter, but keep going, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things
Have
that
it that way.
I noticed is, actually, the state adopted the program in 1965, and the county, I guess,
Came 2 years later,
came 2 years later,
after the Williamson Act,
1965, I think it was the.
okay. Yes,
Anyway, but it, I mean, I like it. Just
Okay.
you-
all right,
you have more.
And then you have the next slide 4, you have the map.
yes, and I'll
And,
explain what the colors are, the green.
Yep.
Okay, and it's a very tiny legend.
I know, I was
I think
trying
we
to
should
think
change
of,
that. It's so small.
yeah, we can make that bigger. I was trying to think of, so if you look at kind of 101 between Los Alamos and Santa Maria, along that corridor, there's not a lot of ag contracts. I was trying to think of on the
No.
east side, you've got a lot of Grand Canyon on the oil development things, so you don't have a lot of ag out
Seasides.
there.
Those, and there's the new Solomon Hills.
Well, you have on the backside, the oil
Right,
field,
yeah.
Solomon Hills.
And then Oilfield is in contract, right?
Some of them, but some of them aren't. And so I think Cat Canyon and Palmer Canyon and all of that, I think that's kind of what's showing that it's not under contract.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah. kind of what-
When you look at it, you think it would be, okay.
Anyhow.
And I could just say,
Yeah, between 135 and 101, that's that oil and Solomon Hills and Keysides in Orcutt, south of Orcutt.
Yeah, I mean, about half of that white area there would be an orchid, and then on the backside, you've got the oil fields.
the pink is the incorporated areas,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
all right. Anything else on this one?
And then the bays and US Forest Service.
Yeah.
You said pretty much everything white.
Okay,
Although that big white, speaking of new contracts, so if you kind of look at where Los Alamos is, you see that big white square? I think, remember that guy that came in the Nolan contract? I think a big chunk of that is his property that's gonna be now under.
no, okay.
Yeah.
Anything about the stats, acres, we were talking about the acreage, APNs, okay, contract.
So this is just contracts, the 1281, we've taken out the conservation
Yes.
easements.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, and these could be active, they could be non, I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
that.
no,
but-
yeah, they're all
Yeah.
combined.
Oh, yeah, and I did have a note here, that's why I started the prime, non-prime, just in case somebody asks us, does this include contracts that might be, how many are in non-renewal? It's like, okay, well, I wanted to have that number, I think they may ask us that.
So, but your number is representing acreage. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, acreage, yeah, okay, all right, next slide. This one, I put, land use restrictions in exchange. Yeah, we have single and multi-parcel contracts. Multi-parcel contracts must be under single ownership, yeah, that's important to get that
Yeah.
for us, because we talk about it
We're
later.
gonna talk about that.
Okay, let me strike that one thing. Next slide. I just put that in there, the two FZs in the, this is, we don't have could you go to the notes? View, please? Yeah. Yeah, I had that comment about, open space, just for my own, I wasn't gonna say that, I just wanted to have that, just in case somebody asks.
Oh, my notes, I added a note, must have not showed up, so you're allowed, in your notes, we say one open space contract, we actually have another open space contract.
Oh, we do?
Carpenter Salt Marsh,
Oh, okay,
Oh.
two,
Oh,
that was the original one.
oh, okay.
this one.
The university?
Land
That
trust.
one is
Land
by
trust, okay.
Kachuma on the 154, the one you're
Okay.
referring to. The salt marsh is the one that was.
So like contracts are with the land, they don't, this is where I could go into, so if somebody, not much time, but they run with the land, so if land is sold, it's,
The new owner has
the
to
new owner
assume the
has to
contract.
assume the contract. I don't think we talked about that anywhere. That might be actually come up later under requirements, let me think about that.
Do you think you're talking about single and multi-contract, since later on, that's one of the big non-compliance things?
Yes.
That maybe weaving those two together, the contract runs the line off, and we see, a parcel on an existing contract sold to a different owner, which leads to potential non-compliance.
Under the multiple, yeah. Yes,
The way the Department of Conservation explains the runs with the land, they say these contracts are binding on all subsequent purchasers of the property.
okay,
Just if you wanted to see it differently.
okay. Thank you. And the state subvention payment eliminated in 2010, and that was about, was it 60?
600,000.
$676,865.
That was for last year.
That was for fiscal year 09-10.
Okay.
That was the last payment.
Okay,
And so on the subvention payments, it's $5 for each acre of prime, and $9 for each acre.
oh, really?
That's how
And
you
where
get
was
That's how
that
you
go?
were getting the,
Oh, I didn't know
Where would that go, to the owner or to the county?
that.
County.
County, that was to offset.
Offset some of the loans.
Well,
Lost
right,
property
lost.
tax.
yeah, the way.
I might have to explain that a little bit, okay.
Is it ever gonna come back, or?
No,
No. I
So
don't-
was
don't
that
think-
meant to be temporary kind of fix offset, or just
Well,
legislation?
it was something that I think they put in there as an incentive.
It was an incentive, it came to be, it was enacted in January of 1972, even before Prop 13. 1972, and it went all the way to 2010.
Oh, yeah. No, I was confusing me, because I was thinking, Alex was talking about the subvention,
Oh,
Come
ever
back.
come back?
and I thought you were saying that the cut was an incentive to counties. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was the state, the governor wanting to cut the budget and have more tax revenue.
And where was that money going, just general fund money?
Well, it's kind of the same. I mean, that's when sort of the market crash, and then that's when they got rid of redevelopment agencies. It's another source of
Right.
local revenue that they could bring back to the state. So I don't, and then subsequent, the legislation basically watered down the Williamson Act, so that Department of Conservation is basically useless for enforcement, on any ag preserve contract anymore. So I think they're happy that counties are continuing it on their own. It used to be where, you would have like state watchdogs, and the attorney general would get involved and sue landowners for doing, illegal things. Anyway, that's my soapbox.
Okay, thank you, Sopa. So next one, anything else on the uniform rules? You get into zoning requirements, so then, this one. With the zoning requirements, I'm just thinking that it's just, we say it has to be ag zone land. But
It's a
can
little
we
bit broader.
Yeah, it's empty in some of these other ones, right? But predominantly ag zone land.
Yeah, predominantly ag zone land. Wait. These are sort of the principal uniform rule qualification things,
Yeah.
right?
I'm not gonna get into what they are, but I guess the uniform rules does spell out zoning requirements, minimum preserve and contract size. So just not saying what each of them are, but just that they are in there. And if they ask, we can always answer the question. Keep it high level. We get way into the weeds. What's that?
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah, and even, not having to talk about each of these points, but maybe look at the board letter, because I think
Yeah, let me. print
there
that out
is
right now.
some
Yeah, let me print that
text
out
that
now.
talks
Keep
about the
talking,
principal
I'll be right back.
use and what the uniform rules do.
Right.
publishing it right now?
Yeah, the best way is like to have this as bullets and then kind of or just talk in general.
Just have your own script, yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
to restate each.
Yeah, I mean, these guys in your department, David, including yourself, you are really mastering these presentations. I always, I don't know when I hear,
Yeah.
Even some-
All the planners,
Yeah.
they get pretty good at that, so.
yeah, you do really good. I was watching chapter 21, with Alex.
Oh,
Yeah. The other day, yeah, he did pretty well.
I was thinking about the last bullet about completing the annual questionnaire. I was thinking of maybe rewording it to say, submit, the way it's written on the uniform rule, provide information when requested, something like that. You know, we make it into an annual questionnaire. Is it different?
Oh, no, okay. Oh, it does still, yes. It's missing it. It doesn't, the new one has this transfer ownership.
What board letter was you wanting
So
to
you guys
put?
revise,
We probably did revise this, but this, I'm using the old one.
this
I think I
should
did.
be. Okay.
I probably already discussed this with you.
That was part of your suggestion previously, you were just,
No, it's still there. This is the middle bullet, complete annual.
There you
But
go.
it's, I mean, that's what it is.
You do some, this is a board letter, there's a lot of good content in here that the background that talks about, yeah, the 1971 Open Space Subvention Act, all that kind of stuff, we can put that in there. Sorry, Royce,
Is one the,
What's
what
the-
meeting date was that?
yeah, there's no meeting date, this is just the draft board letter.
Oh, the one that you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right now, so, yeah, we can include some of this, very helpful.
so yeah, what I was thinking when you're talking about, we have the uniform rules and the bullets, rather than reading off each of those.
Yeah.
Kind of, parse from on page 3, the last 2 paragraphs towards the bottom. For the second to the last, just talks about each of the participating governments, have to adopt their own implementing rules, their uniform rules. And then the last paragraph also brings into the board is recognized it be appropriate to allow secondary uses on contracted land. The uniform rule provides guidance criteria for evaluating those uses
Yeah.
that the board has determined can be considered compatible. So it brings in not only the requirements, but the board has the discretion to identify what is compatible, also compatible with
Yes.
non-ag related things.
Yeah,
So that might be something, because they're not probably familiar with. And I think it kind of preempts Supervisor Nelson's take that, well, ag zoning, if we're happy with what's ag zoning, then that should be the same as the uniform rules. And
Right.
there's reasons why uniform rules incorporates both Williamson Act things and other regulations, because you have different purpose for being under contract.
yeah,
So that's a gentle way maybe of preemptively setting the stage.
And what Dave is referring to is a sentence we have in here that if you don't have a board letter, It just talks about how, there's allowed secondary uses on contracted land, and it talks about, they're either incidental or in support, and that these uniform rules provide, guidance for specific land uses, and the board can, determine whether or not there's compatibility and it's consistent with the Williamson Act. So it kind of gives some flexibility in there, so good point. So I made a note there, slide 6, rather than reading off the bullets. I like that.
Yeah.
And then I like this next one. I think it's kind of important, the agricultural requirements. So maintain ongoing eligibility, and then we can say, oh, even though it may be under non-renewal, and then they have to complete the annual questionnaire, and we can get into that a little bit later. But, and then transfer of ownership if the land is sold, and we would have already said something to that effect, right?
What is that mean? I'm trying to understand. I was grappling with
Transfer of
ownership if land is sold. It is transferred ownership, right?
Yeah, originally we had assumed the contract, but, we put this in there instead because we had assume under quotation, so this is what we changed it to.
So we're transferring the ownership on the contract. The landowner
Right,
has to transfer the ownership to the contract, not the title. We're not talking about title. We're talking about the contract.
Ownership of contract?
Well, because we were talking about, this is the same thing as assuming the contract, right?
originally we had.
When you assume the contract, you put the contract in your name, right? So that's what we mean.
And we did say a landowner agrees to assume the contract, and it was like, well, not every landowner is gonna have to do that. It's only if the land is sold, so that's why we said you transfer, if the land is sold.
What do you
Then
transfer?
Maybe change ownership, maybe transfer the contract if the land is sold. Maybe, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Because if the land is sold, you do transfer the ownership of the land by default, right?
So,
By
I see.
recording a grant deed or whatever you
Right.
call transfer of
It's
ownership.
not on topic either, so.
Yeah, I
So
don't,
transfer
there's
the
a-
contract?
that's what I was thinking, if you say transfer the contract.
or perhaps going back to assume, I mean, I don't see any, I know we discussed this, but it's not kind of casual.
I guess it gets a little bit confusing because it's all it's off of the first.
Yes.
Landowner agrees to, well, if I'm the new landowner, am I,
Transferring? You're
I'm
not
not transferring anything.
You're assuming, you're taking it,
Right.
you're taking
So
ownership.
landowner agrees to,
Okay.
Maybe take ownership of the contract if land is sold.
Or just assume the contract if land is sold. Assume.
We can put back.
What do you think, David? Maybe we should ask.
It was one of the department heads that I would leave that.
Oh, okay.
That's why I left it off. And I said, should I put quotes?
That's
Like,
something that
uh,
Michael.
got brought up. It's one of-
Transfer.
because the agrees implies by signing this contract, I have certain obligations to fulfill under the contract. Third bullet doesn't really fit into that.
You could say something like ensures agrees to,
Continue?
I mean, it would,
Continue
maybe
contract?
just, you could, just that third bullet, move it to the right to be its own standing and just say, extra requirements, assume contract if purchased by new owner or something.
so move it to the left.
I don't know. I mean,
This is not, it's not.
it's not under the landowner, because the landowner agrees to implies, these are my obligations by signing this voluntary contract.
Agrees to.
The third bullet
To take over.
is
to take
really,
over.
because a lot of them don't even know. I mean, some in the title, you know, if they do the title
Okay,
search, it
so
really knows their contract, but they
Lender
don't have to
agrees to,
sign
and
the
then just
contract.
put requirements, how do we wanna say that, just, transfer contract if land is sold? Or just say new
Continue.
owner assumes?
Or assume contract if purchased by new owner.
Yeah, we're just trying to build in the concept of assumptions because it comes up later when we talk about the non-compliances.
I agree that it shouldn't be part of the
Okay.
landowner
Move it
agrees,
to the left,
and then
capital T.
maybe do change transfer to assume.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, yeah, assume contract if land is sold.
Okay,
So for-
fine, that sounds good.
How you come, you know, what if they ask, well, what does ongoing eligibility mean? Do we need to kind of preemptively characterize that?
Sounds like a good idea.
Be in compliance, comply with all the rules
Comply
and
with
Yeah.
uniform rules.
uniform rules.
Yeah, but, you know, I would, yeah, maybe it's, yeah, kind of, which includes, you know, demonstrating their principal commercial ag, use of the property and compliance with all.
Continues.
Compliance with the rest of the information. Might be good just to highlight the commercial ag part, because that's really the main reason for the contract.
Okay. Very good. Next. Advisory.
Pretty straightforward.
I could just say administer, monitor, and enforce uniform rules and agriculture program.
You want to add to that only when a request comes to the committee? Because we basically only administer, well, not true.
We do talk about that under in a couple of slides, we get more into compliance. I could say, and later on, I'll talk more about how we do compliance. Does it talk about, yeah, enforcement, compliance and enforcement.
So for the third bullet, maybe in the script, you know, we review applications for new ag reserve contracts, and the APAC reviews all development applications on contracted land.
Say that again, new ag reserve contracts, new development reviews.
Reviews all development applications.
Isn't it just all discretionary? It's all ministerial.
It actually says all entitlements.
Yeah,
So we, you know, like ADUs, now they downshifted those just to a building permit. It was like questions like, well, you know, should they still count in their entitlements?
Yeah.
We've said, yeah, they have to count, so.
the new development proposals. And also, ordinance.
And then separate, yeah, then you.
Compliance assistance, landowners, should I flesh out the compliance assistance? That's kind of important, preemptively. What that looks like, we do talk about that later a little bit more, like when we get into. Yeah, but that's more in the context of, working with landowners. I could say something like we don't do much education outreach. I think that's one thing that they're really if they're gonna ask us, I think they're gonna say, what are ways that you think the committee could increase or improve upon compliance or enforcement? I think they are gonna ask us that. Maybe that comes after, but I do think that's gonna question. I'm gonna make note of that as we move on. Anything else on this one? Originally, I thought I had ideas of explaining what each person does, but that takes too long. We're not gonna have time. And I'm here before
How much
you.
time do you, 15 minutes?
What's that?
It's not how long you have for,
Well, the whole thing's 20,
oh, 20.
so I'm thinking 10, 15 talking, and the rest are gonna be,
Questions?
gonna be
We're gonna have
questions.
more than 5 minutes of questions.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep this short. and-
Especially they wanted us to.
Or
to
maybe
be
make
there.
it long so there's no time for questions.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure they,
yeah,
stick
and then
to
you
the
may-
schedule.
they
I haven't done a dry run of this, so I'm thinking though it's gonna be 10, 15 minutes. I'm gonna try and keep it to 10. Anything more than 10, people are gonna lose.
Yeah.
You can only.
But they may,
lose so much.
interrupt and ask questions along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will do that, yeah.
Interrupt your flow. Okay. Okay, next one, how Williamson Act properties are taxed. Anything on this one? Yeah, anything to add?
Sorry, good.
Properties are assessed annually, land uses are assessed differently. Okay, I like that we did that. Oh, I had something in here. Is this the one where you had a comment on? Yes. David, you had a comment about,
Other land uses, I said, and
Mhm.
structures.
and
are assigned
structures.
to Prop
Right.
13.
And I started to wonder if we want to do that for that little bullet there, other land use, it's under land uses are assessed differently. Other land uses, I think you had a slash structures. Yeah. And I started thinking, well, does that mean like are farm employee dwellings assessed the same as a home? Are they all assessed the same? They just don't
Well,
go?
they don't get the preferential assessment, so
Yeah,
certainly
Okay.
any of the personal uses, but
All
I
right.
think that was a question I asked Sergio
Other
last time,
land
even if it
uses.
was an ag production building, it's assessed at whatever the Prop
Okay.
13
Right.
value.
okay, so I'll add that in. I can add other land uses and structures are assigned a Prop 13 value. So this one, I will just do my best, but.
We'll look down the table to Sergio.
I will do that, because I'm not a tax person.
So, the only thing I was thinking about crops and grazing land are assigned. So I was thinking crop land, crops and grazing.
Can we say
Oh,
agriculture
cropland and-
commodities?
That's kind of long. I would say cropland and grazing land.
Okay,
You can do that.
yeah, cropland.
That makes sense.
And then, so you're gonna do other land slash,
Structure.
I was
Structures?
not, no slashes. I was gonna say other land and structures are assigned a Prop 13 value.
okay.
Okay.
And by other land, we are including personal use land.
Yes, and I could say that.
Yeah, all the personal use land. And determined.
So I guess I've never really thought about that. So in a prime contract, let's say, where they meet the 50%, and that's all they have, but they have additional acreage that's just,
Just wasteland. We,
none of
yeah.
our land is waste.
Exactly. We still.
It's not under production. It's not being.
What do we
raised.
value it?
But we still value it.
Do we value it as non-prime or?
We value it as wasteland, and we have an estimated, rent, because the entire process is based on an income approach. So we may say, okay, well, this land is rented for $1 an acre. So it's
Because
very small.
Something that because if it was grazing, then it would be part of whatever valuation of the
Right.
lease was. So
It's
it's treated as even less value than that.
Less valuable than grazed land.
But it's still an accurate statement. It's assigned, it's given a Prop 13 value.
Well, that's not personal use. That would still be cropland, grazed land. I mean, I think we still
Oh, okay, like
consider.
even like a staging area where you're gonna do like put picking bins or something. You're saying that would be given an ag value.
Well, no, I was talking about the watershed property, the
Oh.
land that David was referring to.
Oh, okay.
If you're talking about land, like you said, like for staging,
Uh-huh.
that, yeah, we value,
According to this. it's
like a
given-
farmstead, we use a farmstead.
Well, not a building, but just say
Uh-huh.
open land that is not grazed, it's
Mhm.
not cropland. Would it be given a Prop 13 value?
No,
Oh, then maybe we need to change this. Maybe that's not accurate then. I think
Because,
what we were,
because,
uh,
because let's say in your example, I'm thinking, and maybe you can correct me if I'm misunderstanding,
yeah,
but this is like land, let's say they have an acre where everybody just parks their trucks.
yeah,
Yeah, we tax that under restricted or
The preferential.
the preferential.
So if it's a grazing, if it, basically the whole operation is a grazing land and we do have value on the grazing lease, but they do have these areas.
These other
for-
areas.
Or they have the horses or staging or, I mean,
Yeah.
how does, they're
We
just part
still-
of the
They're
grazing
part of
operation.
they're part of the grazing
Oh, okay.
operation.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, that seems,
I think
And-
we are
and the
capturing,
waste, but the wasteland
The
concept,
watershed.
what, you know, if it's just, oh, we've got a bunch of willows here, you know, the property's on
Wild
San
lands.
Ynez River.
uh-huh,
Bunch of the river is on their land. How does that get valued?
same thing, they get preferential,
They still get the
they
preference.
still get preferential. It's only when it's personal use. This is why I was using personal use. Only that personal use land. So watershed, staging areas, parking areas, all of that land gets preferential, the preferential assessment.
And what's
But
that
only-
again, sorry, preferential different from
Prop 13.
Prop 13?
Well, the ag preserve is the preferential
Yeah, it's
assessment.
the ag preserve.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
those lands that are assumed to be part of.
So personal use gets
So
Prop 13.
it's just
Maybe we should
personal
keep
use.
that to personal use then.
That's
That
what I was
might be
thinking.
misleading.
Yeah, because if you put other land, they,
But you were saying that some of the ag production structures themselves aren't preferential.
correct.
So maybe it's just structures and
Why are you saying just
personal
personal
use
So structures and personal use
Yeah.
are
land.
assigned to Prop 13.
Because a
Our
personal
assignment-
use would be like horsey stables that are for personal horses.
Well, or anything within the 2 acre envelope.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Wow.
And that's personal use.
We should change that. Okay. So personal land uses and structures,
And structures.
okay.
But I guess one way, if we said structures first, then because if you say personal land uses and structures, that assumes that it's personal
So
structure.
you're,
I'm okay with
you were saying any
So
structure,
structures
even
for-
agricultural structure is, valued as Prop 13. So if you have a barn
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
breeding.
The structure is
Is.
Proposition 13, the land underneath is preferential.
So I would say structures and personal land uses are assigned to Prop 13 value.
And then other things, maybe we don't have to go into it, like cell tower lease areas, I mean, that area gets its own valuation because of the use and the lease.
Boy, I'm gonna pretty much read this slide unless
No, I know.
you give me something else.
Right.
Okay.
No, yeah, but yeah, I think you should
These structures of
Change
personal
it.
land use.
to
Okay.
that. And then,
Okay,
so values determined using.
very good. Okay, anything else on this one? Okay. Very
No.
good.
Actually, one little thing. Assessed annually. I have a note saying the assessment is calculated annually. Not like Proposition 13 where it's only assessed when it changes ownership or when there's new construction. So I wasn't sure if we should change assessed to annually.
That's sort of like the Williamson Ag benefit is assessed now.
Wait, what? I lost
It's
you.
not, right?
Because I was thinking, a property like the Pursuit property who gets Proposition 13, that doesn't get assessed annually. He's just,
Because he doesn't get the benefit.
he doesn't get a benefit.
Okay,
So I was just saying, the assessment is calculated annually.
Okay, so I can say
You can say-
assessment calculated annually.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I can
If
say
that makes sense to you guys, I was just, thinking, just
I just tried to
just
use
to show.
Fewer words, that's all.
Uh-huh. And
Is that?
I'm okay with that. And
Because that, yeah,
generally, I'm okay with, less is
It's
more.
more
Yeah.
precise, this is more precise, right?
Yeah.
It's just-
I'd say assess, can we leave assessed annually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody,
I
nobody's
just have,
gonna catch it. Anything,
You're on still on top of
you always can turn to Sergio and say,
Yes.
Yes.
You're gonna sit right here. Right here. Okay, should we go to the next one? Annual questionnaire?
all right.
All right. Utilize when calculating agricultural values, landowners are required to report. Maybe we should change the order of this a little bit. Landowners are required to report crop, utilize when calculating. Increasing trend and return rate. I think we're definitely gonna get questions about, well, what are we doing to get these back? Like, I think we're definitely, not a good slide, not a good look. I
Why?
think.
It's not a good look that it's decreasing.
Yes,
So
and we're
Well-
saying this is what we use to help
And
us determine
we-
compliance.
and
if they
I
figure that
thought-
out.
I thought this is kind of like what we want, like something we are kind of like hinting to them, like
Well, I think
give
this,
us a little more something to enforce this.
yeah, and I think that we have to be ready for them. I think they're definitely gonna look at the chart.
Because we want to do this. I mean, I think that's it's a question that I want to ask you guys, because the assessor doesn't want to be the one suggesting that we assess the penalty, or that we do anything
Mhm.
to increase the reporting. So again, we don't want to be, because we don't
well, that was, yeah, I
want to
mean,
do that.
10 years ago or more than at this point. But, we were thinking of trying to get more soft active enforcement and adding on some information to the annual questionnaire so that it could help with, tracking down compliance. And Joe Holland basically said, no, these are.
But since I've modified the letter, the cover letter thus is a little more pushing for a response. We're actually saying that you may be
Mhm.
non-response.
Put
To-
Yeah.
red
You
fonts
may go
or
into-
whatever.
Yeah, you
But
may
I-
go into non-renewal. But we're,
So what if they ask, okay, for those properties that do not submit, then how much does it cost the assessor's office to look at each of those properties and then come up with a valuation?
well, it doesn't cost anything the way we. the
Or
way
how
we process it.
do you
You
come
just go off
up
of
with?
the
So,
That's
so
one
what we
easy
do,
question.
we just go off of the people that do respond. We come up with the benchmark values that we're gonna use for everybody.
Oh,
So, but if there's only a few that
it's
are
like the crop
responding,
report, this is
Yeah,
like the
so
crop
it's-
report, we do the same thing.
yeah, so if there's only a few that are responding, we only have,
But this is
Limited
not
data.
few, there's still over 60% of people respond. right?
Yeah, but they're gonna also ask, so if you don't get a report, what do you do? I mean, I would think that'd be a pretty logical question.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I'm in the AgriZarg, I don't do, what do you do?
again, we are using
It's just need
the information from the people that actually, that did
Yeah.
report.
that area.
Do you call them? Do you send them another
We don't do
letter?
that. We don't send the second letter, we don't call.
Okay, that's where I hope Michael's aware that
But
we're,
that approach only helps if you're making the assumption that they're still growing the same crop that you last assessed them.
Exactly.
You don't know if they've
We don't
changed to a
know
higher
if
value
they pulled any
crop.
vines, we
or-
don't know if they planted more, we don't know that. And so
And
we may,
And-
Ventura County has
Where's our uniform
more
rules?
aggressive
Oh, yeah.
stance on
are you
that.
heading out?
Over about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
It
guess
allows for
that's
fallow
gonna
years
be,
and change of crops and those.
Yeah, but there's nothing in here that says that if you don't do it, then we switch to non-renewal.
Well, in Rule 6,
I mean, they have to
Comply with
submit, that could be one of the,
They comply with uniform rules.
right, with uniform rule 6.
And the government code shows that you have to respond whenever you are asked for information. That our uniform rule 1 point something, I don't remember
The very
which one,
front, yes.
also says that.
Uh-huh.
Comply when the county requests information.
Yes. So what, should I put that down? Okay, which one is that? Uniform rule, okay. And that's, I could say that when I'm talking about it, and that is in uniform rule. That's in the production rules, right? D, production workers, that's where it's spoken,
Yes,
okay.
exactly, that's when, I think
Yeah,
that's the
so
one.
1-2.3D.
And if you want the government code, I can find it for you too.
Yeah, no, I think you did give that to me and I wrote it down somewhere. Got that.
But, so I think this is the opportunity that, you know, the whole committee can suggest something, but I don't know that we want to do that. I think Michael was clear to you guys.
Yeah.
That we don't want to
Push the envelope.
push anything. It'll be up to them. We're just saying, look at there's declining the rate.
So if they say to us, so assessor, you're representing the assessor's office, you know, there's no, what you're telling us is that we have a terrible return rate on these and that you can't do anything about it. I'm just putting it very bluntly. And then you can't do much about that.
Or how the other counties.
That's where we could say,
Counties are
Or they might ask.
aggressive. Ventura County, as
they
soon as
amended their rules.
yeah, if they don't respond, they go straight into non-renewal.
Well, the board gave the authority to the assessor's office to have sort of this review process that's very, you know,
Right.
Might not be
and that
very
they can make that
popular
final, it doesn't go to the board, but they can not renew the
What's that?
contract.
now. Might not be very popular.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, how do we want to triage that? Those are the kinds of questions.
Well,
that-
you just be ready to answer, you know, I agree, just show this, and once they start asking questions, you be ready to
Why are
answer.
you not?
Well, and
Just
I
be
would,
more
and I would be
aggressive?
deferring to you as if the question about the reports came up.
Well, and I can only answer by saying, well, you know, the assessor doesn't have any authority to enforce any penalties or any.
I mean, I think the soft thing we can do is that for those, you know, applications that do get reviewed on our monthly agenda, we're confirming and asking whether or not they've submitted it, and at least we have some, you know, limited ability to
Remind.
get compliance before we take action.
Remind,
But we've also held up taking action until they submit that, so
Okay.
we would have some type of leverage at that level.
And the response is typically like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
No.
Send it.
Most people have been,
Yeah,
they
I
get on it
think
right
that's an
away,
issue,
and we
right?
have good compliance except for the guy.
Yeah.
Because they want to get their item approved.
Okay, got it.
Do you think it would be helpful, just thinking our subcommittee members to give Ventura County a call just to, how's it going? How, you know, just at least be in a position that you've at least reached out to, understanding what they do, how it's working, and that could be helpful information if the board asks about what are other people doing.
I did look at the letter that they sent. You had an email, there was an email.
Did I send you the
Yes,
email?
I saw the
was
email
gonna look
exchange.
for it.
Yeah.
And, I think Royce knows, San Luis Obispo County. How is that, happening there?
You know, a little different, I think. They do their whole process different. And I haven't been on that committee. I'm an alternate now, so I haven't been on it for,
Okay.
But
That might come up as a comparison question, especially from northern districts in our county. They might try to see how we fare compared to San Luis Obispo County. What David mentioned, probably Supervisor Nelson would probably say, hey, they do it this way in San Luis Obispo County.
But yeah,
Okay.
but I think you're right, that probably have some probing questions in that area.
Yeah.
We have to be careful because, again, I don't know that this is our place to suggest that you Board of Supervisors need to help us here. Yeah,
Why not?
we want to say it,
Why
but
not? If they ask you for an opinion.
See, I think to get to your point,
Yeah.
I think, it's reading the tea leaves, and part of the reading the tea leaves is happening at least with department heads and talking about, and probably Mona's probably, because I think it really is gonna be a policy take on, one, they're getting more information, understanding what's going on.
They're reading the board letter, hopefully.
Part of that is the finances and seeing, well, we've given all this land, this preferential assessment in terms of taxes. If you took looking at the dollars, it's like, okay, well, there's, if we're getting all this non-compliance, we should be more active so that we can, if they're not gonna be doing, one, the board would say, yes, we support ag, which they do, and they've said many times, and we think this is an important program, but we want people that are doing ag in the program. People that aren't ag, they shouldn't be getting a tax break. Then it's what do we do? I mean, that could be the conversation that the board has, and so then that, one, how can we have more enforcement so that the people are doing ag are getting the benefit? And parallel to that, the county can recoup more of the revenue for it. And so I think this group and your presentation necessarily isn't pointing that,
But
but I
David,
think that
Are
it's,
the department directors gonna be there as well?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, they might be able to answer these questions.
Yeah, what the feeling, I think I heard from Michael Daly, like, well, we'll be there right nearby if something comes up.
And yeah, I talked to my director, I mean, we really don't have much of role in, as compared to the other departments, but
Mhm.
again, I did mention it to my director and he's gonna be
Yes.
there.
I'm thinking that Jose will be there as well, and I don't know.
So
about-
they might need to jump in, they might get to ask questions.
yeah, they might, but I even think it's, and hopefully there's been some touch points with the CEO's office on this, because I think they're the ones that kind of have to anticipate understanding this information that it likely could have some policy and financial directions that, should be anticipated.
And then sometimes I used to go to each individual district with my director if you have something that could be, so that might be an opportunity for Jose and you to go, or Lisa or whoever, go and discuss this with each individual districts.
Yeah.
Just to give them heads up and, see what their concerns are, or they might come back with questions once we have the board letter.
And yeah, it'll be interesting timing too, because it'll be right before the budget workshops, or the week before the budget workshops, and so
Well, it'll be, yeah, I guess right before. Yeah.
following week is the budget workshop. So if that's in their mind, and obviously, this year and starting the next couple fiscal years, it's going to be even more challenging budget,
Mhm.
and so it may, it may be a good primer for them to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna give us, any further
Yeah.
direction, but it might be
And they won't expect
raising issues to
from
come
us-
back with more information or
Anything,
options. or-
Yeah, I don't think they will ask our committee big policy questions.
Yeah, that's why I think Mona and the CEO's office kind of has to read the tea leaves and how to frame what this is, but it also has some potential implications that the board is concerned about. Not only continuing, not
They
in
might
other
see-
counties,
yeah,
but
they
you
might
know,
see
taking
an
a stream.
opportunity,
I
right?
think, I mean, counties have the option of just discontinuing the agri-service program.
Yeah.
There's an extreme.
It's a very interesting situation that it's very disconnected from how things normally roll out, so. And we don't typically go before the board and we don't typically interface between, we usually coalesce around the uniform rules, not around how are you gonna be enforcing this?
Right.
We don't act independent. We just do what the uniform rules, if that's what our task
I'm
is.
gonna give Sergio a badge.
Yes,
But
yeah.
if you-
Questionnaire.
So, okay, so the next one here with compliance and
Oh,
enforcement.
I think Royce wanted to speak.
Sorry,
Question,
Royce, go
Royce?
ahead.
Yeah, a question, and I'm not sure if it's the right place or, and maybe it's even been answered and I'm just missing it, but would it be important to, we've brought up an awful lot about what the Williamson Act does in terms of the county and so forth, but have we really stated how much it helps the landowners? And in particular, I'm thinking of the type of ag that qualifies for it. If you look at somebody grazing cattle versus a high-end crop or a vineyard, what's the ability of that landowner to pay their taxes if they didn't have the program? And would we be losing property to whatever, development, et cetera? So what is the advantage of that Williamson Act to the landowner?
Yeah, and there is some text in the board letter on that, with that, but we could put that in the beginning, just a sentence or two. Like maybe under history of the Williamson Act, yeah, that might be a good way to fold that in. Because it's a big picture concept.
Yeah.
And I provided some good background material, which I actually brought with me on my plane right to Mexico. I did read it in the plane. So I could put some of that in there too. Yeah. So you had a study, and then there was another document, I think from the DOC. They have a lot of good background information on that.
I would
That's a good point.
Q&As and they actually say
Mhm.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Discourages premature and unnecessary conversion.
yes, and that is,
Urban uses.
that is actually in the, yeah, it's in the background section of the board letter. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So anything, we're getting 2 hours in, so you gotta head out. Okay, definitely, understood. Okay, any other comments on compliance and enforcement or the annual questionnaire? I think we're gonna get questions on graphs, I really do. I think we're gonna get questions like we talked about the annual questionnaire. I think we're gonna get a question about the trend for non-renewals, and I know we've talked about it, but I didn't write all the details down about the graph. And I just need I need to think through how to explain this one right here, because the non-renewals we're not in 2025 yet, but these are applications for non-renewal. So that's why it shows one for 2025, but it hasn't been realized yet. And then there's some that were taking time to go through the system. So that's why you see that took some of the county initiated non-renewals took some time. We grouped those together a lot of times, and that's true. So, I don't know, that's gonna probably have questions on it. Yeah. Because really, the graph is showing just county initiated is really our enforcement tool. So it's that other slide where it talks about compliance and enforcement, that it's important that they understand that, we don't have it's reactive, it's not a real active program, that how they're found is typically during an APAC, review or during recorded changes in ownership, as we input, so it's the split. The ownership splits we're talking about. And then, we, have the top 3 listed on there: insufficient or no ag production, exceeds personal use limit.
They may ask what that is, so we should have
Which one? The,
the personal use limit. So,
yeah,
you know,
Just
the
right.
our uniform rule allow,
3% or
3%.
or
2 acres.
2 acres, whichever is less.
Yeah, and then that replacement contract, I don't think we really describe it anywhere, but goodbye, thank you so much. Replacement contracts, required
when there's a split, or there's change in ownership,
Or change to the contract boundary.
or changes to the contract boundary.
that's gonna be hard to explain. They're not, it's hard to, you have to see a picture of it.
We'll let David take that one.
Just on that graph, I forgot.
So this one?
So for 2020 COVID year, did we have any, I mean, we had 12 owner initiated non-renewals. Did we have any context to what we thought that was a spike, or just is what it is
Oh, for the owner initiative?
Yeah.
in 2020?
Yeah, that was when Mr.
That was the cost.
Adam,
Okay, so okay, that's what I was thinking, but then I was looking, but we allowed, it wasn't that we did not, I mean, we still have always allowed the owner initiated, it just, they had to pay a fee to go to APAC, and then we would take it to the contract to the board. So, okay, so that was, okay, I think that's what you're.
I think
Should we
that's what-
put something in there, like a little tag that says, this is when we drop no fees, something, would it messy, but I guess.
Well, and we don't, I mean, we can just say,
It's sort of a list of questions.
No application, I mean, fees.
well, they have to
Yeah.
record it, but yeah, but it was
You
just
don't
like,
need to go to a project with a plan.
and you don't have to take the non-renewal to the board,
Right.
you know, the same cost. And so,
Right.
So we had a spike in 2020 because of that
I-
fee.
It was when-
I think it was kind
was
of,
it that late or was it earlier than that?
it was earlier for sure, but not that much earlier. Because it usually takes,
Somewhat,
Yeah, some-
before people understand.
There was a year when Peter Adams' brother, I think he's an attorney, I forget his name, anyway. There was an attorney that was very active in finding people that weren't getting any benefit, and he was filing all these non-renewals for them. And I think it was either 2020 or 2021.
So he cut up his brother's business street.
Yeah, yeah.
this is recorded.
I think that's really gonna throw for a loop when we explain
when we
that some
explain
people
it,
do
yeah.
not get any benefit at all.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't characterize it that way, but yeah, I think if we're gonna try to respond to that with the change in how the owner initiated can move forward, yeah, if we have a better idea of the time frame of when the board made that change, you know, it may be, like you said, Alex, it might have been like in 2018 or 2019.
How do we find that out?
Alex is gonna find it.
Okay, and what was the
I
2022?
probably
Was that the
promised to
backlog?
do that.
Was 2020 and 20?
I think between 2022 and 2025, when there's no county initiated ones, was that backlog. That would be how to explain that.
But then what about before then, before 2022? So 2019 to 2022, that's just COVID? And maybe the no fee for a non-renewal owner initiated, right?
Yeah, because I think it's, you know,
Yeah, so I found an email from 2016 from Steve Mason. He's asking me, I'm being asked by the board members, if the process currently used for ag preserve non-renewals is necessary. So there's 2016 discussion started. I'd say probably around,
2017, 2018.
yeah, was implemented.
That's fair.
So 2022, why do we know? Okay, so owner, I'm just gonna say, the spikes for the 2019 to 2022. And the reason there's maybe no, or not spike, but lack of county initiated is because of COVID.
Yeah, and even the sort of the backlog, because I'm just looking at my tracking sheet, so a lot of, we have a lot of that backlog was in 2020. Focus Capital is the one. Yeah, so Focus Capital, Man Living, one of the other ones that finally went, the 330, I remember that 15-acre parcel that had like the funky thing. All those were in at APAC in 2024. So I would say sort of the backlog that finally came in 2025 were from cases from 2020 through 2024.
Okay. Got it. Okay, very good. That addresses that. Anything specific about the steps for non-renewal?
And this is October of 2016, so yeah, most likely around 2018, we have a process in place.
Do you want me to put that we dropped the, doesn't you think that has an effect at all? I mean.
I don't even know if there was any action on the board side or it was interpretation of the law, or I think that was Fort District was kind of pushing that there's no requirement.
Certainly, I know, yeah, certainly it
There's no
was,
requirement for
but
that.
I can't recall if the board collectively, I would think that the board collectively would have given P&D the direction to revise.
So that would be speculating. I mean, these are all we're speculating, but that one.
No, but you can
tether.
say that, 2020 is probably.
We could just say the county, I mean, I think it's fair if we just said, the county amended the
2017.
requirements for owner initiated non-renewals, that they no longer had to pay a fee and be reviewed by APAC and taken to the board, that the landowners could go directly and record
In 2017, yeah.
about 2017.
Yeah, at the earliest, I'd say.
Okay, any other comments?
Just a question, do we want to, just in case there's a need to continue to reconvene, we'll just continue this to our next regular meeting?
Yeah.
To continue that.
Yeah.
I only have one item so far for the next meeting, so.
Okay, and are we thinking we're gonna put like that data separate slides, what I was thinking?
Separate.
Yeah, separate slides,
Yeah.
financial one.
Yeah, and then once-
Financial one. How to end it, because we're gonna end it on the financial thing. The financial side is the last.
Kind of just, concludes our presentation, we're happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Perhaps some of those beautiful photos, maybe let's put a slide of.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you see here.
It's so,
I like drive.
You guys wanna see what, did I send the email about the Ventura County's process, the one I sent you?
yeah, maybe send it to
Send it to
Teresa.
I'll send it to
Teresa will send it out.
And then, and a reminder for all of us, we need to send Teresa our fully loaded rates.
Yes.
And I updated the calendar for the April 8th meeting.
Oh, did you get the Bella Ranch people?
No, the one that for the board of supervisors.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
I
see.
thought it automatically updated when you emailed me, but.
Wait, what did you
Wait,
say?
April 8th, right?
Yes.
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 So far.
Yeah, I got an email.
You got the calendar.
Okay. And then, Royce, is that something that Royce would attend? He would attend that remotely or in person or?
In
Which-
Santa Maria, hey, up there.
Yeah,
April 8th.
it'd be Tuesday, April 8th.
Every Tuesday.
And it's in Santa Maria, Royce, so.
Yeah, it's a little closer for you.
So
Well, if you're in
then the
San
15th, I will probably be that in down there, I could attend that. Otherwise, I'd have to do it remotely.
Okay. So the 8th though looks good? Okay, all right.
So what if a question comes up about the industry reps in this committee? And I know some counties have like the ranchers and farmers.
And we have that information that,
I mean, I guess we can
Novak gave us.
maybe, since we're continuing this to our March meeting, we can run that by Tyler, just because we sent him the memo, the research that Maria had done, which basically kind of outlined, they dropped the consider,
Right.
hopefully that, but yeah, I think if it comes up, that would probably be a good
So-
thing for Tyler to respond.
I guess another thought too is I would want to do a dry run, have probably be just Sergio there, because we can't have everybody there, have a separate meeting. And then it'd be nice to have Lisa and or Michael or Jose there, so they could really poke the questions. That would be important. So-
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah.
We do ours on team.
Yeah, that's what Jose was saying, just do a Teams thing, yeah.
Do you wanna add, since there's only one item, do you wanna add any of the others that we're still
Oh,
have pending?
okay, yeah,
Do you have, I know it's been very
yeah,
busy.
I've been
I know
spending a
you're
lot of my time
slammed,
on this,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, one request for the subcode for the March, we're gonna have the discussion of the chairship.
Yes,
Are you gonna be providing any information of sort of as the chair, these are the tasks that you do and
Yes.
the hours and
yes,
associated with it?
Yes.
That would be helpful. So if we have that
Yes.
ahead of time and put that in the box.
yeah, when would we have that? That would have to be 2 weeks, right? So if I get it to you on Friday next week?
Yeah, I'll be number 5 or number 4 in rotation.
You wait till- yeah.
No rush,
You need-
yeah.
No, he's just trying to avoid it because he's gonna retire.
Oh. uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah, that's good.
You need to experience, round out your experience before you retire.
I
as
talked to
chair.
my director about it. He gave me this suggestion.
Oh, and just a note about the board letter, I wasn't gonna include,
He knows about it. He's gonna get it as a package. I told him it's April 1st. He already.
will he get it as a package?
Yes,
Okay.
he's requested it from his secretary to give him a package,
Oh,
but it's not ready yet.
okay,
This
so
is-
it's
Oh, I don't.
it's at
You
county
want-
council.
He's fine. I explained him, our role, is very specific in the committee and, I don't think he's too interested in being in the letter.
Okay. I just want to make a point of that, 'cause I think we need to get signatures. We'll just be okay and, probably, Michael and, Lisa.
Oh, for the board letter?
And then the PowerPoint is due it's the Wednesday before the meeting. It's like, yeah. Okay,
You're gonna shine.
yeah, you'll be great. Just,
I have to get it,
again,
I have to
make
get my head in
it
that.
long
yeah.
enough so that there's no question.
Right, it's all about timing, I think, with these things, whatever's
You
going
can't,
before
yeah,
that day.
that's what, yeah, you have to see if there's other controversial things or big ticket items that,
Bump you off.
yeah.
So besides the rate, did you need me to provide something else? We already did the math and the.
Sure, I'll work up a
Teresa
slide
did
and
that.
have
Okay.
it ready.
I managed to, thank you, respond to our financial.
Oh, and that
review
concludes our
about-
meeting. Is there anyone here who'd like to make public comment on this item?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, so our meeting adjourns at 3:45, and thank you very much.
Bye, Royce.
Bye, Royce.
See you, Royce.
See ya.